Hello and welcome back to my channel. My name is Jason, or as you may know me, Easy Cat, and I'm very excited today because I have a special preview of a new board game that has just hit Kickstarter that I'm very excited to share with you today. This is Storyfold Wildwoods, and this comes to us from Open Owl Studios. Now, Open Owl Studios, as you may know, as you may remember, or maybe you don't, I don't know your life, they made a game called Mythwind that I played through quite a bit of on my channel a couple months ago, and it was a lot of fun. In the game, I got to be a farmer, I got to run a tavern, it was really fun, and that could play 1 to 4 players, and I played it solo. Storyfold Wildwoods is made completely for solo play, and it is meant to be a story that you play through. Now, keep in mind, this is a prototype, so things are subject to change. We're going to be playing through the tutorial, so I have not opened this box yet. We're going to open it together, and we're going to go through the game. We're going to play through the tutorial. My hope is to show you how easy this game is to just open and start playing and get to the table, and we're going to do all of that together, and I think it's going to be a lot of fun. Now, something I love about this game, before we even get started, is that it is book-shaped, okay? So this is the spine of the book, and then you can see these are pages, so it looks like a big old book that you could put on your shelf. How cool is that? And we are going to jump into this and play. I'm very excited. I loved Mythwind, and so I'm very excited to play their new game, Storyfold Wildwoods. I think we should just jump right in. And before we get started, I do want to say a huge thank you to Open Owl Studios, not only for sending this prototype of the game, but also helping to sponsor this video. I really appreciate it a lot. I really appreciate all of their love and support for my channel and for giving me the opportunity to try this new game of theirs. All right, so this is the box, and when you open it, it just unclasps. Up here it says, "Fear is a guide, but so is love," the raven replied softly, folding its wings. I expect that will probably be a quote from the game. When we get in here, we have some paperwork. A lot of times prototypes of games will come with a little letter. Sometimes these will tell you things to look out for. Sometimes by the time that you get a prototype, things have already changed, and so they'll try to give you some information about that just to look out for as you play through. I will mention this says that the Kickstarter launches November 5th. It actually was pushed back a week, so it will be launching on November 12th, and as of this posting of this video, it should be live for you to go check out. In the interest of this being a completely authentic first-time playthrough, I'm going to read you a little bit of this because it's my first time kind of learning about it, and I think it's information you might enjoy. So, Storyfold Wildwoods is a solo narrative adventure game in which you play as a young girl named Luma and her bear companion Brahm. I love a bear companion, okay? As they set out to heal the forest from a dark and mysterious shadow. In this preview copy, we have included the prologue and first chapter of the 10-hour-long story campaign. So this is a whole campaign story that you play through, and I do believe it is made so that you can replay it because your choices, the different choices and the different things that you do will have different effects every time. Storyfold is designed to be played without a rule book. It's great. I hate reading rule books. I know that's probably crazy. As someone who loves board games so much, I actually hate reading rule books. Rule books to me can make or break a game. So the fact that it doesn't have one is hopefully a good thing. We'll find out. There is a rulebook still included, but it is made to be played without it thanks to this tutorial level that we're going to play together. After you remove the storybook, open it and read the Call of the Wild prologue story, then follow the text on the bottom page to get started. We will do that together. Each session is meant to last about 30 minutes to an hour, and the entire campaign is about 10 hours long. So this is our book. This is our storybook that you can see here. Oh, I have to remove the storybook, so let's get the storybook out. Let's put it right here so that we can take a look at it. Okay, so let's open this guy up. Oh, we're just jumping right in. There's already story. Oh, okay. This is fun. This is exciting. We're gonna go on a little adventure together. There was a girl named Luna. Ooh, oh. That first page had so few words on it, I was like, oh, each page is going to be like reading a children's book. Prologue, Call of the Wild. On a crisp morning, like so many others, Luma stood still at the edge of the river. Amidst the gentle sounds of flowing water and warmth of the early sun, a light breeze played with her hair. She savored the moment and sighed. I thought we'd all sigh together. That was a very peaceful sigh. A lot of times when I sigh, it's out of rage. I'm but I feel like she's peacefully sighing, so we're gonna go with that. Suddenly, a gust of wind sent a flurry of leaves past Luma's gaze. She watched in anticipation as the swirl settled atop the water, forming a trail stretching from her feet to the forest on the other side. The leaves glowed with a soft, luminescent light, beckoning her to approach. Heart pounding, Luma knelt down. She hesitated, then she scooped one of the leaves into her palm. flame. In an instant, a flash of light burst from her wrist. Luma's eyes widened, and she felt as if the world had shifted. Before she could grasp her surroundings, a vision arose from the depths of her mind. She saw a young woman and an infant child giggling amongst the tall grasses of the forest. Nearby, a large, majestic deer grazed peacefully, until, suddenly, its head raised sharply in distress. It's like, hey, something's wrong. Then, as quickly as the vision appeared, it dispersed into shadow, leaving only an echo of distant howls. Gasping, Luma found herself back by the river. My girl's hallucinating, okay? I'm concerned for Luma. Luma, you gotta, listen, I don't know what kind of flowers they got around this river, but you need to watch out, because I'm concerned. Okay, where were we? A low rumble drew her attention to a calm, powerful bear at her side. Listen, I think bears are adorable, but I would be losing my mind because they're also incredibly dangerous. It was her again, Brahm, she whispered, her fingers stroking the bear's silvery white fur. Okay, I feel she knows the bear. We are acquainted with the bear. This is not stranger danger bear. This is like a bear we know. Okay, I feel a little bit better about that. The visions had begun several moons ago, each time leaving her more unsettled. There was something familiar about them, but what she did not know. For as long as she could remember, she had lived and cared for the creatures at that river's edge, just as Brahm had cared for her. Her memories were distant, impenetrable, not unlike the dark forest beyond. But now something was stirring, a festering change that had spread from the forest. Critters were fleeing the woods in panic, the river had turned foul, and flowers that were meant to blossom now wilted. Even Eek, their playful squirrel friend, had not returned from his last trip into the forest. I gotta tell you, Eek is an excellent squirrel name. Eek. I hope we get to, I'm sure we'll probably have to go save Eek, right? Like, Eek sounds like the kind of person that needs saving. Squirrel, the kind of squirrel that needs saving, excuse me. Luma looked to Brahm, who stared back at her in expectation. She knew she could not wait any longer. The creatures are suffering, Luma thought to herself, but she had never dared to cross the river before. Okay, so we have the river, we have Luma, we have Brahm. Eek is out there, who even knows? Tripped, fell down a ravine, is stuck, or maybe not. Maybe he's partying it up, and we're just concerned for no reason. I guess we'll find out. Welcome to Storyfold Wildwoods. When you're ready, find the deck of cards that says Prologue on the front, and read the first card, Prologue Card 1, to begin your journey. Okay, hold on. We gotta find... So here we have it. I already found it. This is the Prologue deck. I'm probably not supposed to look at the cards. I already flipped it over. Hold on. All right, so we're gonna open this up together. Okay. Now, I am planning to just play through the prologue, so if you're worried about spoilers, I probably should have said this earlier, but I feel like you're smart. You got it. You're watching this, and you've determined in your mind, I believe he's going to play through some of this story now that he just read a bunch of it. We're going to play through the prologue together to give you an idea of the game. I don't want to spoil too much, but this will at least give you kind of a concept of the game, as well as, I think what's important here is how the ease of learning and, like, getting it set up on the table. I think it's pretty cool. For someone who plays a lot of board games, I think it's pretty cool that I opened the box, put this out, and I'm already in the story, right? Like, I already know these characters. I already know a bit about this world. Like, we're already jumping in. Most board games, you have to open up and you're reading a rule book for anywhere from 10 to 30 minutes before you're even setting up. And the fact that we're already jumping in, I think it's pretty cool. Okay, so Prologue. Here's our Prologue deck. We're gonna go through this together. Prologue. If you would like to reset this deck, you can find the deck composition in the back of this card, place the cards in order listed in the left column, followed by the order listed to the right. I know that's not very exciting, and that's not any story, but I think it's important because I get asked a lot when I play games that are campaign-based, like, can you reset it? Can you play it again? Is it a one-time thing? You can play it again, right? So this has the entire list of the cards in the Prologue deck, so you can go right back through, reset it up, and play it from the beginning. I love that. Okay. Do not shuffle. Unless instructed otherwise, return these cards to the game box after reading and resolving the instructions on each side. Okay, flip this card. This is Prologue card number 1. So I guess technically I didn't have to read this first card, but I wanted you to know that you could replay this game because, you know, I worry for you and I want to make sure you knew. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Storyfold Wildwoods. In Wildwoods, you play as a young girl, Luma, and her bear companion, Brahm, who set out to heal the forest from a dark and mysterious shadow. The story of Wildwoods is experienced across 5 main chapters. Each time you play, you will progress through the scenes until you finish the chapter. The outcome of each scene and chapter will directly impact the next. Your choices matter in Storyfold. I love that. I love when my choices matter in a game. I think it always is very exciting. Prologue card number 2. This introductory chapter is the prologue, and it consists of 2 scenes, crossing the river and into the dark. The left and right panels of the storybook are known as your dashboard, and the pages you flip through form the scenes. Together, these will include all of the information you need to play Wildwood. Turn the storybook page to scene 1, crossing the river. Ooh. Okay. I really like how this storybook is set up. It's very fun. Okay. It reminds me of like children's books and like all the artistry and the way that they present stories. I just think even as an adult, I find them very magical. And this is kind of giving me those vibes. I love it. The top page of every scene includes some story text, instructions for setup, shadow effects, and rules and outcomes for how you either win or lose the scene. For now, read the story text and follow the setup instructions for crossing the river. The story text, crossing the river. Despite her apprehension, Luma followed Brahm as he edged towards the river and the path of glowing leaves. The vision was still fresh in her mind, and she couldn't help but think of the deer. It seemed so frightened. Fear began to swell from somewhere deep within and pushed against Luma's heart. She reached for Brahm's fur, grasping tightly as together they stepped into the water. Okay, so here's our setup. All of the cards needed for this prologue chapter are included in the prologue deck. Be sure not to shuffle it and follow the instructions on the cards closely in order to learn how to play. Each chapter will include its own deck of cards to be placed in the story space. 1. Place the entire prologue deck in the story space on the left dashboard. After the prologue, only each chapter's story cards will be placed there. So I think I have to open this. So many moons ago, in a world of light and shadow. All right, okay. We are ready to play, my friends. Okay, so the deck needs to go in the story slot, and we have the story spot right here. So we're just going to put our deck right there. And now we are going to draw prologue card 3. Should I look at anything? Should I read any of this? Well, I'm going to follow the instructions. Listen, I promise I'm going to follow the instructions. Relax. Okay, prologue card 3. I'm getting ahead of myself. I'm like ready to flip through this book and see everything this game has to offer, but one step at a time, okay? All right, here we go. Throughout the prologue, you'll be instructed to take certain cards from this deck and place them on or around the storybook as indicated. Take the Luma card, Luma and Brahm, and place it in the Luma space on the left dashboard so that Luma and Brahm's side is face up. So this is the Luma and Brahm card, and it says Luma is brave and kind, a child of light. She is guarded by Brahm, a fierce old bear with a loyal heart. We're going to place that in the Luma space right there. Take the Brahm card, Protect, and place it below the Brahm space on the left dashboard so that the Protect side is face up. Okay, so this is Brahm's card. I'm going to scoot us up just a smidge here so we have a little bit more space here. So this is the Protect card. I'm going to read it. I don't know if I'm supposed to yet, but I'm going to because I do what I want, I guess. During the Luma phase, if Brahm is not on the shadow discard pile, you may spend one, it looks like a gem sort of thing, from any action card to light a creature, then flip this card. Maybe I'm not going to read this because I don't know what any of those words mean. So let's just put him over Brahm's space. I was like, this is unhelpful. That probably means I'm not supposed to read it yet. Next, take the 4 action cards, Explore, Light, Help, and Heal, and place them below the storybook in the order shown below. So we've got Explore, we've got Light there, we've got Help, and we've got Heal. Okay, great. Those are all done. The 4 numbered spaces, 3, 4, 5, and 6 plus, and the 3 blank spaces, these over here, along the bottom of the storybook is called the river. So this is considered the river. The start of the river begins at 3+ position, and the end of the river is the position immediately to the right of the last card in the river. As you play cards, you will move and slide frequently within the river. Okay, so this section is going to be moving and sliding a lot, all right? Great. Next card. Take the shadow card Lost and place it in the shadow space on the left dashboard so that the lost side is face down. Okay, so this is the Lost card. Place it in the shadow space face down. Done and done. Take the 2 Explore cards, Berries and Mud, and place them face down in the Explore space on the right dashboard in any order. So we've got Berries and Mud. We're going to place them face down in the Explore space, like that. Take the 2 creature cards, the Wildwoods and the Cray, and place them face down in the creature space on the right dashboard with the Cray on top. So we have the Wildwoods and we have the Cray. Ooh, I'm loving the art. The Cray needs to be on top, so we're going to put those in the creature spot, like that. Take all of the crystal tokens and place them in the crystals space on the right dashboard. I believe I have crystals in here. So we've got crystal tokens. Take all the crystal tokens. Like I said, this is a prototype, so things are a little crazy in here, and that's totally fine. Listen, I've played some rough prototypes in my day. This is pretty good so far. Okay, so crystals, have been placed in the crystal spot. And then we're also going to put stun tokens, which I think there are only 3, and we're going to put those in the stun space. So those are the stun tokens there. Take all of the location markers and place them in the location marker space on the right dashboard. So these are the location markers. So we're going to put those in the location marker space. I love when everything has a little spot to be put. All right, there we go. Take all 5 action dice, which are 8-sided, and place them next to the use dice space on the right dashboard. So we have several dice here, but the ones that we need right now are just the black dice. Those are the action dice. I'm gonna make sure that you can see everything here, so I'm just gonna put them down here for now. For the prologue, we are starting with reduced spirit. Take the spirit marker, which is this guy here, and place it on the spirit track left dashboard in the 4th space from the right. Okay, so 4th space from the right. So 1, 2, 3, 4. There we go. Finally, take the light and shadow tokens, which are these guys, and place them in their starting spaces on the Wildwood tracks. So the sun is going to go here, the light is going to go here, and the shadow is going to go right there. We are now ready to begin playing. We're set up. That was pretty easy, and I love that the cards walked me through it. As Luma, you will play through scenes by exploring unique locations, healing corrupted creatures, helping various critters, and attempting to bring light back to the forest. Depending on the choices you make as you play, your journey through the Wildwoods will be made easier as you help restore the light, or more difficult as the shadows close in. The top page of every scene describes the 2 ways in which a scene can end. Either you win the scene or you lose the scene. For this prologue, you will successfully win the scene if the light marker reaches the center of the Wildwood. So if we can get this light marker to here, we win the Wildwoods track, and you have resolved the onwards location. So there must be a location that's going to come up called onwards that we have to resolve in order to win. Oh, right here. Here it is. Right there. So we have to resolve that, and we have to get the light to here to win. Let's get started. I want to mention, because it didn't say here, maybe it will in the future, but it does say you lose the scene if the shadow marker reaches the center of the track. So if the shadow marker gets here, we lose. So we're trying to get the light marker here, and we're trying to get to onwards right there. So those are our goals. Those are our life goals. Each turn consists of 2 phases, the Luma phase and the Shadow phase. During the Luma phase, you control Luma's actions. That makes sense. Each Luma phase begins by retrieving all action dice from the use dice space and placing them in front of you. These are your available action dice. Here are my available actions. I'm going to place them in front of me there. And then, let's see. The Luma phase continues by performing actions until you have used all of your available action dice. The actions you can perform are represented by your 4 action cards: Explore, Light, Help, and Heal. Each action card has 2 abilities, a top ability and a bottom ability. We are going to focus on learning how to use the top abilities for now. I just want to point out what that was talking about. So each of these cards has a top ability and a bottom ability. We're going to focus on those top abilities because they're probably the less crazy abilities, I would assume. But I don't know. We'll find out together. To perform an action, you will first choose an action card and pull it towards you. Next, you will select either the top or bottom ability on the card and the target of your attempt. Finally, you will roll any number of your available action dice and attempt to gain successes. Let's see how that works. For your first action, let's choose the Explore action. Exploring the Wildwoods allows us to resolve explore locations found in the scene. So my Explore action card is right here. I'm going to pull that towards myself to show that I'm using that ability. Scenes contain both explore locations and help locations, distinguished by symbols and colors. Some locations are connected by a line. So you can see that line right here is connecting 2 locations. Some requiring you to resolve them in order from left to right. So in order to do these, I couldn't just jump to onwards because clearly there's a river in the way. Okay, we have to cross the river before we can onwards the river. You know what I mean. Relax. Using the top ability of Explore action card, we will attempt to resolve the Explore location cross. The Explore location cross requires 2 successes to resolve, represented by the number of colored dots. Okay, so it looks like I need, if you can see here, I have 2 dots there. That means I need to get 2 successes in order to achieve this through the Explore action. Oh, and I just realized the Explore action actually matches the color of these spots that have to be explored. So I'm assuming this Untangle is probably going to have to do with Help because the color matches. I like that. Simplicity. Since we need at least 2 successes to resolve the cross location, let's choose to simultaneously roll 3 of our available action die and attempt to get 2 or more successes. Because your Explore action card is currently in the 3+ position of the river, each die you roll needs a result of 3 or higher to count as 1 success. So I'm going to show you, because we're in this 3 section, when we roll these 3 dice, we have to get 3 or more for it to count as a success. Like if I were to try to heal right now, I would have to get 6 or more to get a success there, which is interesting. So it kind of makes you like try to cycle these a little bit, I would assume. I'm making a lot of assumptions, but this is my first time playing, so we're all in this together. Throughout the prologue, only if you do not roll enough successes, you may roll again until you do. We will explain later what normally happens if you fail to roll enough successes. That's nice. I appreciate that they're going easy on me. Let's try rolling. So we need to get at least 2 dice that are 3 or more. And this prologue is very nice to us, so if we mess up, we're just gonna roll again. But luckily we don't need to roll again, because we got 2 5s and a 1. So we have our 2 successes that we need to cross the river. Hooray! You have rolled enough successes to resolve the cross location. Place a location marker onto the cross location to indicate it has been resolved. Locations with a location marker cannot be resolved again. So we're going to take this little location marker and we're just going to put it up here, meaning that we have completed that location. That's nice. Because here's what's great about that. I have a bad memory, and I feel like later on I'll probably forget if I've done something or not, and that's a way to remember. We love that. When a location is resolved, if there is any text below the location, immediately read it and follow the instructions. The cross location instructs us to draw story card number 1 from the story space. Take story card 1 from the story space and place it in front of you, then flip it over to reveal the card. Story, okay, it's right here. We got it. There it is. There's our story space card, and then we're going to flip it over to reveal our story. As you play, story cards will help tell the story of Luma and her journey through the Wildwoods. Mini cards also include an on-play effect that must be resolved immediately after you have drawn the card. Should we read this now? I don't know. I'm gonna read it now. It feels like a good time. Do you mind? Do you mind if we experience some story? I almost said encourage some story. That makes no sense. A cold splash. Brahm entered the chilly water without hesitation. For Luma, the bracing cold was a reminder that home, along with its warmth and safety, would soon be behind them. Brahm paused to glance at Luma, and with an encouraging snort, faced forward again. Whatever awaited them on the other side, they would face it together. Okay, now this has an on-play action, but I do believe this is going to tell us how to do that. The on-play effect of the story card 1 instructs us to draw 1 creature card, take the top creature card from the creature space and place it in front of you, then flip it over to reveal the creature. Alright, so we have our first creature, and I think we already know what it is. It is a Cray. Let's just name him Kevin. I feel like Kevin is a good name for this guy. I mean, it looks angry. It looks like a very angry Cray. Kevin the Cray. That sounds good to me. So this says here, a corrupted Cray named Kevin. It doesn't say that, but that's okay. Many creatures of the Wildwoods are under the influence of the shadow. These creatures will take away your spirit and disrupt your plans. Listen, many a Kevin has disrupted my plans, so I think that is on brand. When a creature card is drawn, you immediately play it by resolving the on-play effect found on the creature card. The on-play effect for Kevin here tells us to place the card face up at the end of the river. There you go, Kevin. You're in the river. You've joined the river. After activation, move 1 space toward the start of the river. So Kevin is going to be moving his way down the river, probably to cause us a whole bunch of drama. I feel like that seems like what he's going to do. I'm not sure where this story card goes now that I'm done with it. I don't know. We'll figure it out. Let's just put it here, and I don't know. Let's put it there. Prologue card 12. To finish the action, first return all dice you rolled, there they are, to the used dice space. So those are done for this turn. Then slide all of the cards in the river to the left so there are no gaps. So this card, Explore, is going to go to the end of the river. And I just spun it around over there. And then everything else is going to move down. And then this will go at the end like that. Finally, take the action card you chose, the Explore card, and move it to the end of the river. Your river should look like this picture. Okay, cool. So there it is. So we've moved everything around, and so now Explore is all the way down at the end, as you see there. You still have 2 available actions, because we still have 2 dice, right? We're going to perform another action. This time, let's choose Help, just right here, and we're going to attempt to resolve this Untangle. Remember how I said that that was probably going to be what we needed to use Help to untangle? Now, this only requires 1 success, so that's great. Help locations allow you to ask the critters of the Wildwoods for assistance, or even to help them in return. Some locations, like Untangle, are not required to win the scene, but provide additional rewards if resolved. All right, we're going to begin by sliding the Help card towards us to show that that's the one we're using. Our Help card is currently a 4+, so that's what we're going to have to get in order to be successful. We're going to roll both of our remaining dice. Again, for the sake of the prologue, if we don't get 2 4s, we're just going to re-roll. You know, we're learning. We're all learning. Together we learn. We got 1 4, so we still have not had to learn our lesson the hard way, which I appreciate. So this is successful, which is wonderful. Wow, you did it! The card says that. So nice. So encouraging. Place a location marker. I don't know where this goes. I'm going to put this story card up here because I feel like it's just hanging out here. And I'm like, do you need help? Can I help you? I'm going to put it up there. Wow, you did it. Place a location marker on the Untangle location. Oh, right. To show that we did this. So we untangled. The text below Untangle location instructs you to gain 2 crystals. So let's gain 2 crystals. That's these here. Crystals contain the spiritual gratitude of creatures and critters and can be used to add additional successes to your roll. scrolls. Oh, that's great. When gaining crystals, take them from the crystal space and distribute them freely on top of any of your 4 action cards. For now, let's choose to place both crystals onto the light action card. That's kind of interesting. So you actually have to put them on a card. You can't just like use them willy-nilly. You have to be like, this is the one I'm going to use them for. Unfortunately, that makes me have to strategize and think a little bit, which is probably good for the game's sake, but for me it is a little scary. Until spent, crystals will stay with the action cards as they move in the river, so they're going to stay there. Let's finish this action by once again returning all of the rolled dice to the used dice space, then slide all the cards. So we're going to move help down to the end here. We're going to move everybody down like so, like that. By the way, this is called cleaning up the river, so it's sort of like ending the action by like moving things along the river. Now that you've used all of your available action dice, it is time to begin the shadow phase. So if you've ever played any like cooperative games, this is going to feel very similar because you have a phase where you get to take actions, where you and Luma and Braum get to like do things to affect the world, and then the shadows are going to get to do things to affect the world in negative ways, and it's kind of got that nice back and forth feel to it. During the shadow phase, the corrupted creatures of the Wildwood attempt to drain you of your spirit and disrupt your plans. Here comes Kevin. This is his time. This is his time. The shadow phase begins by activating each creature in the river once. Kevin. Starting from left to right. Currently, there is only one creature in the river. His name is Kevin. When a creature is activated, it attacks you. For every spirit icon found on the creature card, you lose 1 spirit. Let's see. Does he have... Oh, he has 1. He has 1 spirit icon, it looks like here. Kevin causes you to lose 1 spirit and move your spirit marker 1 space to the right. Oh boy. Okay, so Kevin is a hater. No surprise there. If you are ever instructed to lose more spirit than you have remaining, you are overwhelmed by the shadow. When this happens, you must continue losing spirit from the start of the spirit track and then draw a shadow card. Shadow cards represent Luma's inner turmoil. If you are ever forced to draw the final shadow card, lost, you lose the chapter. Luckily, your mighty companion Braum has a special ability, Protect, that can be used once per chapter to prevent you from drawing the final shadow card. We might need this help later. By the way, I'm going to make a quick correction to what I just did. So I moved this little token here. That is not the one I'm supposed to move. It is supposed to be this one, and this is going to move here. So if this were ever to run out, that is where it's talking about I would have to continue losing spirit, and then I would draw a shadow card, and that is also possibly where I would use Braum to help protect me from whatever awfulness so that I don't lose the chapter. And I can only do that once per chapter, so sort of like you get 1 get out of jail free card, which I guess is nice, but also scary. Finally, follow the after activation effect on Kevin's card, which instructs you to move Kevin 1 position towards the start of the river. When a card enters the river or moves into a position that already contains a card, it forces that card 1 position to the right, creating a cascading effect. After all creatures have activated, the shadow phase continues. Advance the shadow marker 1 space towards the center of the Wildwood track. Okay, so Kevin is going to move 1 space this way, and it's going to move my heal card a little bit further away, which is not great. And then now that we've finished up with all of our creatures, we are now going to affect this, which is the shadow marker, and that is going to move 1 space to the left. So in a lot of ways, this shadow marker is sort of like a countdown. We need to hurry up and win before that gets to the center. After advancing the shadow marker, look above its space for one of the shadow effect icons. Some spaces on the track have unique icons that trigger various shadow effects, which are described in the scene setup. So we've got our shadow effect here, and it's going to be up here is where it's going to describe that. It might be hard to see, but there's like a little eyeball right above that space, which is activating that shadow effect. For this shadow effect, you are instructed to draw 1 creature card, draw the remaining creature card, and immediately resolve its on-play effect by placing it in the 6+ position on the river. So our last creature, the Waldvark, we're going to name him Walter. Okay, so we've got some dastardly creatures in these woods, Kevin and Walter wants to go to the 6th section, so that is going to push those cards back, like so, and now Walter is in play. Walter and Kevin are out here causing problems, okay? After advancing the shadow marker and resolving any shadow effects, the shadow phase ends. It's time to begin another Luma phase. Great, because I feel like, a lot of that was just like putting cards out, but now we've got 2 creatures. This moved. I lost some spirit. I feel like I had a bad day just now. We were doing great. We were crossing rivers. We were untangling squirrels. And now we're in danger. I don't love being in danger. Start the Luma phase by retrieving all of your action dice. There we go. Then for your first action, let's choose the light action card and attempt to light a creature. Light a creature? Like on fire? Listen, I don't like Kevin, but I don't know that I need to... Kevin's obnoxious, but to light him on fire? Maybe just bring some light to his soul. That sounds nicer. Let's go with that. Lighting a creature is a helpful way to prevent it from attacking you, stunning it momentarily with a flash of brilliant light. To light a creature, first pull the light card towards you. It's right here. and choose the creature you wish to light. Let's choose Walter because it will cause you to lose more spirit than Kevin when it activates, okay? So, I see here, because when Walter activates, he makes you lose 3 spirit. That would make us lose, that would be very bad. We don't want to lose 3 spirit. So we're going to send some light Walter's way because he's having a bad day and we want to, maybe we give him a little hug, which will stun him into not attacking us. Yes, that is what I've decided is happening in this story. So after choosing which creature to light, we're going to look to see how many yellow circles on the bottom left of the creature. So there is only 1 yellow circle on the bottom left of the creature, and that's how many successes you need to light that creature. So again, this is yellow, and it matches the yellow light card. So there's a lot of like really nice color iconography here to help you remember what you're supposed to do in all of these situations. The light card is currently in the 3 section, so we only need to get 1 success to light Walter. So we're going to choose to roll 2 dice and get at least 1 success. So we're going to roll these dice. We have these extra successes. I guess we're just not going to use those yet, which is fine with me because we're in that lower 3 section. Maybe we'll wait to use those till it's a little bit harder to light something. So we have to get a 3 or more, just 1. And we did it. We got a 5. So we got our success. When you light a creature, first move it to the end of the river. Walter, I'm so sorry, but you are being sent to the end of the line to think about your actions. And we're going to place a stun token on Walter as well because he's been shown so much light from our magical light hug that he's now stunned. The Walter was too stunned to speak, okay? Now, when this creature activates during the shadow phase, you will not lose spirit. So we're going to return these dice to our used dice, and we're going to move our light card to the very end of the river, like so, because it's getting moved downwards. We still have 3 available action dice, right? Which is great, so we can still do some more action. We're going to attempt to heal a creature from the shadow by using our heal action. So this is also going to pertain to creatures, but we are going to use the red dot on the creature. So we have to get a number of successes equal to the red dot on these creatures in order to heal them. We're going to try and heal Kevin of his dark ways. Kevin has been through a lot. He's a very scary bird, so we're going to try and heal him. We only need to get 1 success, and it has to be a 4 or higher. We got 2 7s. That's pretty good. So Kevin, that will heal Kevin. Let's see how that works. When you successfully heal a creature, first remove the creature from the river and place it face up in the creature discard. Oh, I'm sorry, Kevin. Goodbye. Thanks for all of your Kevin-ness. You were great. You were great. But now that you're healed, get out. And we get to claim the number of crystals that were on the bottom. So Kevin actually had 1 crystal here, so we actually gain a crystal token, which is wonderful. We're going to also place this token on our light card, so we're just going to sit it there for now. An important note here is each of our actions can only ever contain a maximum of 3 of these crystals, so keep that in mind. And of course, we're going to clean up our river by just moving everything down like so. There we are. So that is all of our actions, right? So we used all of our actions, and it is now going to be the shadow phase again. So the only creature we have that is going to activate this time around is going to be Walter. Because Walter has a stun token, instead of losing spirit, we're just going to get rid of this stun token and place it over here. So now Walter is not going to stun us. But however, he is still going to do his after activation, which is going to be to put him at the end of the river. So he is now going to go back to the end of the river after his activation. And the last thing we're going to do for the shadow phase is we are going to move this shadow marker 1 more space to the left. There's no marker, there's no shadow effects over this one, so there won't be any shadow effects this time. It's now the start of another action phase, so I'm going to retrieve all of our dice, and we're going to have those actions to use again. So I mentioned this earlier, but each of our cards actually has a secondary ability below the top ability. So for example, heal would let us, for every success, we could recover 1 of our spirit over here. So each of these cards also has those abilities on them, which makes them doubly useful, and really, I'm sure as the game continues, will add to the strategy of how we play. So next up, we're going to choose the explore action again. It's come back to our 3+, which means that it's going to be easier to achieve. We're actually going to use our explore card's secondary ability this time. So it says for every, let me show it to you here. For every success, draw 1 explore card, choose 1, and discard the rest. So we're going to roll 2 dice in hopes of getting 2 successes. We have to get 2 that are over 3. All right, so we got a 6 and we got a 7. All right, so that means we get to draw 2 explore cards and we get to pick 1 and then we'll discard the other. One thing to note here is after the prologue, whenever you attempt the top ability of an action card and fail to gain enough successes, rolling dice and spending crystals, you may always choose to perform the bottom ability instead, using the successes that you rolled. So this is kind of cool. This means that if I choose one of these actions and I roll and I fail, I can then do the bottom one using the successes that I did get instead. And I think what is great about that is there's nothing worse to me in a game where I feel like I wasted a turn. And if you were to just roll and not be successful, it kind of feels like you missed a turn, and that's not fun, right? Like if you ever played a game where you have to like lose a turn because you got a bad roll, it's not exciting. And so the fact that you still get to do something with your turn is really, really cool. Now, there is a situation where you might fail to get any successes and then the attempt fails completely. Then instead of performing an ability, you would clean up the river as normal and just continue with the Luma phase. So there is the opportunity that you could lose your turn, but at least there is some wiggle room there, which is nice. So now we're going to draw 2 Explore cards. So these are our 2 Explore cards from earlier. We're going to draw both of those. Now there are 2 types of Explore cards. There are boons and there are banes. Boons can be used to aid in your adventure, and banes will hinder you. Let's choose to keep the berries boon card. So let's see what these are. I didn't even look at them. Oh, I just threw it. Come back here. Okay, so we have berries or mud. I mean, what would you keep? That's not much of a choice. Do I want some berries or some mud? Obviously, I'm going to keep the berries, please. And then I'll just discard the mud. We don't need mud. We don't need mud in our life. We don't need that. We don't need that stress. It gets all up in your shoes, and then it's hard to get off, and it's mucky, and it makes it hard to walk. No, thank you. Berries, much better. Although the berries could be poisonous. We're going to place these berries in, we have some boon sections over here, so I'm going to place that over here. I'll just mention the boon lets me recover 2 spirit, and then we're going to clean up our river by moving our explore action back there. And we still have some actions to take because we still have 3 dice, so that's nice. So the next thing we're going to try and do, now you might remember at the beginning of this when we said like what we need to do to win is we have to light up the scene, which means moving our light marker. So far our shadow marker has done a whole lot of moving. Our light marker has not done any moving. So we have got our light card here, and the bottom of the light card, let me show you. I'm going to try and lift it without losing these crystals. Says for every success, advance the light marker 1 space. So now you might understand why we've been saving up these automatic success crystals on this light card, right? It's all coming together. Because the light marker needs to move 4 spaces to reach the center of the Wildwoods track, and you only have 3 available action dice, now would be a good time to spend the crystals. Crystals on action cards can be spent to add 1 success per crystal, but only if you first roll at least 1 success. Roll all of your remaining dice and get at least 1 success, then spend your crystals by returning them to the crystal space until you have enough successes to move the light marker to the center of the track. So we're going to try and light up this whole scene in 1 action. So we already have 3. We can spend all 3 of those, but we have to get at least 1 success from these, and it has to be a 4 or higher to be a success. So here, blow on these. Give me some good luck. Oh, your breath is so warm. Oof, okay. And we did it. We got 2 successes, actually, an 8 and a 5. So we'll just go ahead and spend just 2 of these. I mean, why not? And that's going to take us 1, 2, 3, 4 all the way till the middle, which is one of the things we need to do to win the scene. So the only thing left to win the scene is that we have to explore our onwards part of the story, which is right here. But unfortunately, we don't have any actions left, so we're going to have to move to the shadow phase. We are going to activate Walter because it's the spirit phase, and unfortunately, Walter is going to make us lose 3 spirit, which puts us to the end of our spirit track. That's not good, so we'll just put this over here because we've lost a lot of spirit. We are out of spirit. Whenever you run out of spirit, continue losing spirit from the start of the spirit track, then draw a shadow card. Drawing the final shadow card lost always ends the chapter. Thankfully, Brom's special ability Protect can be used once per chapter to prevent us from drawing the final shadow card. Read the bottom ability on the Brom card and follow the instructions. So yeah, we definitely don't want to draw this last card because that is the lost card. So let's find out what Brom's card does. Brom's card has 2 abilities as well. The bottom says, once per chapter, instead of drawing the final shadow card, you may place this card face up, Protect, on the shadow discard pile, then flip your Luma card to the Luma side. So I'm going to put Brom on our shadow card. He's protecting me, but now because he's protecting me, it's no longer the Luma and Brom show. Now it's just Luma because Brom is out there protecting, so I'm kind of going to be on my own for the rest of this chapter. To end the shadow phase, we're going to move Walter back to the end of the river. Remember, that is his on activation effect. And we're going to move this shadow token 1 more space to the left. Things are getting a little dicey because that's getting real close to that center spot. And that's scary. So we are back to another Luma phase. Let's retrieve all 5 of our action dice. Just one little note here. I forgot to move my light ability back to the end of the river, so it just has to go there. I forgot last round. I got so excited about lighting up the scene that I forgot to clean up the scene. So now we're back to where we should be. So here's the thing. Our Explore is here at the 5+ position, which means we have to get a 5 or higher to be successful. But the only thing we have left to do to win the scene is to explore this onwards location, this next part of the chapter. So I think what we're going to do is we're going to use all of our dice, all of our actions to try and do it. Because if we don't, in the next shadow phase, this is going to move over here and we're going to lose. So it's kind of like an all or nothing play at this point. So we have to get at least 1 dice that is a 5 or more. We're rolling 5 dice. I feel good. No, don't blow on him again. Your breath was hot, and that made me uncomfortable. And I don't really think we should be breathing on each other. And that's something you should have thought about when I asked you the first time. Boundaries are important. All right, so let's do this. All right, Luma, it's up to you. Okay, we did it. We actually got 3 successes, so we're good to go. We're going to place a location marker on Onwards, and it tells us to draw story card number 2. So let's do that now. Reflection. Was this a taste of things to come? What afflicted these creatures and caused them to act so unnaturally? Maybe this is what the deer had been frightened of, Luma thought. These creatures needed help, and perhaps she and Braum could bring healing to the forest. It was not far away now. So on play, we're going to travel to scene 2, into the dark. We're going to move all of this stuff off to the side here. So this says, first look at the section titled "You Win If" at the top of the storybook, and then return back here. What has just happened is we have won this scene, right? We lit the scene by moving the light marker to the center of the Wildwoods, and then we resolved Onwards, which means we get to travel to scene 2 into the dark. The good news is, when you travel, we actually have a list of things you have to do up here. We're going to walk through all of them so you can see what traveling looks like in this game. First, we are going to discard all of the creatures from the river and place them face up in the creature discard pile. So all of those are going to move there. Next, we're going to clean up the river and remove the light and shadow and location markers from the scene. So we're going to remove these markers as well as our location markers. We used Explore, so we're going to move that down to the end of the scene because we're cleaning up. Finally, we're going to turn the page to scene 2 into the dark and continue the story. Luma sat down on the other side of the river and rested her head against Braum's reassuring leg. She smiled a little as she watched Walter, the Waldvark, happily dig up some thick roots from the sodden soil. Her light had proven successful in healing the creature from the crimson shadows, but it had drained her of her spirit. Every time she used the light, she had felt closer to the brink, in danger of being lost to the shadow herself. It made her feel frightened and abandoned, just like she felt at the dead of night when the nightmare came to visit her. In her heart, Luma understood that if the shadow continued to spread, it wouldn't just be the forest that suffered, it would be everything she loved, the creatures she had cared for, her home at the river's edge, even Braum. The old bear heaved his body with a deflating sigh and nudged her gently. Slowly, Luma's dark thoughts subsided, and she felt a sense of calm return. "I am ready, Braum," she said, meeting his eyes. The bear looked towards the forest, then back at Luma. He nodded, as he always had done when she shared her visions and fears with him. With Braum by her side and a growing light inside of her, Luma gathered up her courage and marched towards the unknown. Something or someone was calling her to heal the forest, and she felt ready to face whatever shadows awaited her. But with each step, her sense of responsibility grew heavier and doubt returned. "If I fail, everything will be lost." Nerves started to get the better of her, and she held on to Braum tighter and tighter with each passing step. And that is the end of the prologue. Now, obviously, not a whole lot happened in the story yet, right? We are just journeying into the woods. We did a lot of learning how to play. Now, once you finish the prologue, you get these very helpful cards. So you have a card that shows you Luma phase, what crystals do, how to light a creature. So these are like helpful cards to help you remember how to play. Here's what I'll tell you I love about this. Just first reactions after this first play, all right? I love that, a lot of the people who watch my videos do play board games, but a lot of them are readers. And this game is a beautiful marriage of those two things. It's rich with story, it's rich with characters. I don't know about you, but I'm really excited to see what happens next to Luma and Braum. It's rich with beautiful art. And it's full of this narrative which readers are looking for. But it also has this interesting gameplay mechanic. It has a little bit of push your luck to it. It has some strategy as you move things around. It has you kind of trying to control cards and where they are at in this river, but also control different monsters and keep an eye on some different things to make sure that you don't run out of spirit and make sure that the shadow doesn't overtake you. And I think this prologue is really fantastic. Listen, I've played some tutorials in my day that did not do a very good job of tutorialing. And I got to the end of it and I was like, I still don't know how to play this game. But this is pretty simple, right? You read some story, you do a Luma phase, you do a shadow phase, you go back and forth until either you win or you lose. And I love the accessibility of that, right? Like I had never opened this box before. We sat down to play, and we sat down here together, and we opened it, and we learned the game together, and we played through the entire prologue together. And it took about an hour, a little over an hour. But when you play it, you would go through it faster, right? You wouldn't be talking to a camera. You wouldn't be sort of making sure everything looks good for the camera, all of those things. I think it would probably go a little bit faster for sure. And if it doesn't, that's okay too. You take your time, you learn, you make sure you understand what's going on. I feel like this prologue did a really good good job of setting me up for success as I continued to play through the story, right? And to continue, you literally would just turn to the next page and start reading the next chapter. As I said before, there are 5 chapters. The campaign is going to be about 10 hours long. This is made to be played completely solo, but if you have like a partner or a friend, I love doing stuff where you play like solo together, so you could sit next to each other and kind of make decisions together. You could certainly do it that way, but it is also just meant to, much like a good book, it's a story that's meant to be just enjoyed on your own. It doesn't take up a huge amount of table space. I mean, everything you see here, this is the whole game. And when I go to put it away, I'll just fold it right back up. And then when I go to play again, I'll just open it up, and each chapter has its own deck. So when I go to play chapter 1, I would have chapter 1 right here. And then as you continue playing, each chapter would have its own deck. You keep things very organized that way. I think it's really lovely. Personally, I love it because this, to me, is like the perfect marriage, the perfect kind of union of my 2 favorite things and the 2 things that I talk to you all about all the time, which are books and board games. It's a lovely story, and the writing is really lovely, and it's really beautiful, and it has characters that are immediately interesting, and it has that like story before bedtime, that once upon a time feel, but it also feels a little darker, right? Like there's something maybe a little scary in these woods. There's some scary animals, and there's some creepiness here, and I like that. I like the darker edge to it. It's not all sunshine and rainbows. It's got this kind of this darker vibe. It reminds me of, there are definitely some video games it reminds me of as well, and I am also a big video game player, and this feels like that kind of on the table. I don't know, I'm very impressed. I mean, I loved Open Owl Studios, their other game, Mythwind. As you know, I played through a lot of it. I really, really liked it. This is a different experience for sure, but I love that I just learned how to play the game as I was playing it, and I love that I'm excited to see what happens next in the story. I don't know, all of that is really, really cool to me. So this, and the presentation is just fantastic. The story, the way that this folds out, the way that everything has its own little spot. I think it's pretty good. I really like it a lot. Here's some things to think about. This is currently on Kickstarter. I'll put a link to that down below so that you can go and check it out for yourself. I do have the Chapter 1 deck. I don't have the rest of the game. I just have Chapter 1. But if you are interested in continuing the story with me, I think this is only Chapter 1. I'll have to open it up. It might have more than that in there, but I'm pretty sure this is just Chapter 1. If you would like me to play through the next chapter, please let me know in the comments if you'd like to see more of this story. Let me know what you think of this playthrough. Is this a game that you think you would enjoy on your table? Do you play a lot of solo games? I'm a big solo board gamer. I love solo games. To me, they feel like building a Lego set or putting together a puzzle. Like it's just like this really introspective moment where I get to sit by myself and kind of solve a little puzzle. So things like this are very much up my alley. Like this very much feels like a game made for me. Like, I mean, this is very much my type of game. This is the kind of thing that I would set up on a Saturday morning and I would just play through the whole thing throughout the day probably, because that's the kind of person I am when I play games like this. So I would love to know if this is the type of game that you enjoy, and if you would like to see more of it, feel free to let me know that, because I can at least show you Chapter 1, and then if you like that, maybe I can convince them to send me more chapters. I don't know, maybe. Let's see. Thank you so much for joining me for this playthrough. I want to say one more huge thank you to Open Owl Studios, not only for helping to sponsor this video, but also just for like letting me play this, because I'm a big fan, and I'm kind of nerding out that I got to play an early copy of this game, because I have been very excited for this game. It's one of my most anticipated upcoming games, so the fact that I got to play a little early, I feel really, really, really excited about, and I feel really honored to have gotten the chance to do that. So thank you so much for that, you guys. Let me know your thoughts about the game in the comments, and as always, happy playing.